My name is Avalon Luehman, and my major is social work and gender and women's studies, and I'm also getting a certificate in nonprofit leadership.
My name is Deyton Drost, and I'm a gender and women's studies major.
So when I first came to MSU, I was a social work major, and I wanted to work with survivors of domestic and sexual violence. And while I was taking my classes, I was learning how to implement interventions to help survivors, but I wasn't understanding why this issue existed in the first place. I just knew that there was people to help and I needed to be the one to help them. My second semester, I ended up taking a gender and women's studies course, and it literally felt like everything just totally clicked into place. All of these questions I had and all of these observations I had been making were finally getting presented to me in a way that just made total sense. And pretty much after the first day of that GWS class, I was like, okay, I need to major in this.
When I first came to MSU, I'm the same year as Avalon, I was actually a business major, and I had a bunch of random classes because I was a freshman, and one of them was the very first intro level class, the Intro to Gender for Gender and Women's Studies, and it just felt very me. I grew up in more rural Minnesota, and my high school didn't really offer any classes like that at all, or any even close to sociology. And I always had those kind of, you could say, morals and values, and it just clicked. And I really, really wanted to learn more about that. And it was just so me. It felt so right. I just had to switch my major 2 weeks into college.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It felt so me. As soon as I took it, I was like, I love the class, I love the people, I love the professors, I love the theories, I love the concepts, I love everything. I want to go into macro social work, working with survivors and victims of domestic violence and sexual violence. So for me, that would look like more things on a policy level, having to do with advocacy and collective activism. So just larger societal scale. But there are so many different options for what you can go into with a gender and women's studies degree. You can apply a feminist lens to any profession, any career. Literally throw something at me and I'll have an answer for you. Even with business, Deyton decided to change her major, but you could double major in both business and gender and women's studies and go in and bring a feminist light and lens into the issues that or topics that are getting discussed. 93% of the CEOs in the US are men, and so just having that gender and women's studies degree can bring a whole different perspective to a career in business.
I was gonna say something very similar, is that gender and women's studies is so broad. You can literally do so many. Again, me personally, I really have a focus on reproductive justice and advocacy and grassroots organizing, and so I want to go into working with nonprofits, but there's definitely a lot of stuff you can do, whether it's what Avalon wants to do, nonprofits, opening a cool business like the Smitten Kitten in Minneapolis.
Shout out.
Yes, owned by gender and women's studies alum from here, and
yeah, there's fields like Deyton was saying in nonprofits, in public health, in law, in education, sex education is a huge one, politics. There's organizations that we literally have in our community, CADA, the Committee Against Domestic Abuse. There's Planned Parenthood. You can go to institutions that research gender related issues. Even just if you want to be an environmentalist, you can look at the intersections of environment and feminism. So a common misconception about gender and women's studies is I feel a lot of people think that we just sit in class and talk about women's issues, which is true, we do that, but feminism is so much more than just gender and women. It's looking at the intersections of all of our identities. So it's race, class, gender, ethnicity. It's looking at how all of these issues are coming to play at all times. So for example, last semester we took a gender and women's studies seminar class that was called Beyond Incarceration. That was literally an entire class that was just talking about the criminal justice system, prisons, healthcare in prisons, the intersections of like race, gender, and class in relation to the criminal justice system. So yeah, there's so many different topics and like lenses you can put on literally any social issue, for sure. I think the seminar class before us was like feminism and food, like talking about how food insecurity like disproportionately affects people with like intersecting identities. So it is super, super, super wide-ranging topics, and it's a lot of variety, and you will literally see how you can apply these perspectives to any aspect in your life. Yes, Dr. Laura Harrison. We love her so much. She is like, in my eyes, she is a genius, and literally out in the public, she's a genius. You'll ask her a question and she'll give you like this like 10-minute most beautiful spiel you've ever heard, and then be like, but I only read one article about it, so don't quote me on that, after she just dropped the most jaw-dropping feminist lens theory literally ever.
Yeah, she's amazing. I agree with all of that completely. If I had to add any more, it would probably be Dr. Hamidi, who's also a professor in the Gender and Women's Studies department. She's helped me a lot. She's the kindest person I know, and she really, really, really cares about, she loves what she does, is what I'm trying to say. And she loves her students.
The gender and women's studies professors, like, this is definitely like a field that you have to care a lot about to like want to teach. And so like they're all so like good at their jobs, first of all, but also like actually care about their students like as human beings, and very empathetic.
Yes.
Okay, a lot, but yeah, I would say for me it's been like the opportunities that I've gotten through it. So we've gotten to work with like the Title IX office, the Violence Awareness and Response Program, the Women's Center. We've been invited to like speak at the Take Back the Night like rally presentation thing that MSU does. We've created like a student organization, Students for Reproductive Justice, where we've had like sex toy bingo, consent carnivals. We've hosted like abortion ban teach-ins, abortion rallies. We do stuff with voter registration. And just like being a GWS student here, we actually like got to go to the National Young Feminist Leadership Conference in Washington, D.C. We got a, what's it called?
A grant.
We got a grant from the Gender and Women's Studies department, so it was completely paid for. We went with 2 other girls. We were able to speak on a panel. We got to go to a bunch of different panels. So yeah, I would definitely say all like the amazing opportunities that we've gotten.
The most rewarding part of this for me is when other young girls or women or people come up to me or us after we have just got done doing something like those opportunities Avalon was talking about, and they just thank us. I think that's very rewarding because it can be a lot of work, and if you don't have a good support system, it can feel kind of isolating because feminism is, it's a lot of work, but it's so worth it when like young girls just come up to us and they thank us and they see us for what we're doing, and like they want to be like us. It's so rewarding.
That is a really, really, really good feeling. And knowing that like you made a difference, or we like hosted and partnered with like the College Democrats to do like a political concert called Put a Woman in Charge, and Deyton and I were doing speeches on like reproductive rights and like gender autonomy and stuff, and looking up and seeing like Dr. Harrison and the audience like smiling, nodding, giving us thumbs up. She gave us a hug afterwards, like let me tell you, we were on top of the moon.
Yeah.
So my biggest piece of advice would be to get involved. So it's one thing to be able to like sit at a desk and be really knowledgeable in like theories and concepts and perspectives, but it's another thing to like take that education and apply it like in the field, right? So actually causing change with all of this stuff that we've been learning, applying it to like create a movement, right? So collective activism, that is like so important with what Deyton was saying earlier with like grassroots organizing. Getting out there and doing stuff, right? Just like in the community. And like for us, we ended up like creating that space, like our student group. We knew knew that like we wanted to take what we've learned and actually apply it. And like through that, we've seen so many other like gender and women's studies students like apply that knowledge into like the different activities that we're doing. Another one is like networking. So like getting to know like stakeholders in the community, like people who can make a difference in like the issues that you care about. But also the number one biggest is finding a feminist community. I would say that is the most important, because like what Deyton was saying earlier, feminism can be very exhausting and it can feel isolating at times when you kind of feel like, whoa, my opinions are too radical, or like I'm seeing all of these bad things in the world now because I've learned too much. Just having like even one person that you feel like can get you makes an entire difference.
Going off of what Avalon said, you're so smart. My number one piece of advice is to make friends in your cohort, which I know I'm copying your answer, but it is so important, especially if, you know, some of your other close friends haven't taken these classes. It really opens your worldview to a whole new perspective that you probably didn't even know was possible to think like that. Like Avalon was saying, too radical.
Too radical sometimes.
You will think that, and so it's really important to have a good, strong group of friends that you can just talk to about that stuff and relate to and help each other with, you know, projects.
Yeah.
And start rallies.
Start rallies.
Piss people off.
Piss people off. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, like, and if you're feeling like you're not having that community, I can guarantee you there is another gender and women's studies student who feels the same way. And it can feel scary to like go up to someone and be like, hey, do you want to be friends? So like Deyton and I, one thing that we did is like start a feminist book club. And in our classes, we would just like say to people like, hey, we have a feminist book club if you guys would like to join. And most people want to join because they also want to find those communities. So it's okay to create that space yourself if you feel like there isn't a space for that.
100%. Something else I will say about getting involved is the Women's Center always does like socials at the beginning and middle of the semester. So if you're, you know, new to the major, or if you're not even in the major, you can definitely check out their events, and Avalon and I will probably be there, and we can just talk about feminism.